Welcome to Inside Pleasantville School District. I'm Emily Rubin Persons, your host and Board of Ed trustee. So, welcome back to school. It's now the 4th week and the 10th full day of school as of this recording. I hope you all enjoyed your summer and are excited to be back in school. The board just had their annual facilities tour last week, and I have to say that it was so wonderful to see all the classrooms filled with the students and the general hustle and bustle in all the 3 buildings. I know it's not easy with all these new rules, yet we are really committed to keeping our doors open and our kids together in their daytime classes and the after-school activities. So thank you to all the students and the staff and the families in keeping our doors open and our classrooms full. So one of the big things that goes hand in hand with back to school is that we are back to the extracurricular clubs this year and sports. So sorely missed last year. So it's great to see the fields filled with action and postings on social media with all the sporting scores and chitter chatter. And today, I'm here to introduce our new athletic director, Dan Iorio, to talk all about what's going on with our teams. So Dan, welcome to Inside Pleasantville, and congratulations on being our new athletic director.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So we had a big sports weekend with the big football game in the rain, right?
So it was finally an opportunity for us to see our student body out there, our families, our community. It was the first time that everything felt normal.
Right.
And I would say I've been here 17 years now, and I would say that in the last 8 years or so, this was probably one of the better events that I've attended.
Wow.
The student body was phenomenal. The community was great. The town, worked great with us as far as the preparation process.
Right.
Everything was just perfect.
It just was great. I mean, we missed football last year so much, all the sports, and as I say, just all the fields are now full with the kids and everything. So I'm so glad that we're back.
That for me, that's the part about this job that I already love, and I know that I will continue to love, just having an opportunity to be out on the fields. Watch how our coaches are coaching our athletes, and just watching our student athletes participate in sports. It just for me, I take a lot of pride in that, and it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling at the end of the day, going out to those fields and watching our athletes have fun, our community members enjoying the game. It really is. It's a great thing. Yeah,
and having our fields right in the center of town makes it easy for many of our community members whose kids have long gone participate and come to the games. I know some of my friends whose kids are long gone. They still go to a lot of all of a sudden there they are hanging around the fields. Like I can just walk right over, as opposed to it being far away from the community. So tell us, now that you're new in this role, what does an athletic director do? I know that's a loaded question.
How much time do we have?
I know, you were telling me. So let's hear. I know we have, I'll start you off. I know we have a coaching staff of approximately 61.
Yes.
That's a lot of grown-ups to manage.
We are, I think, exactly at 61 coaches. The role of an athletic director, I'm still learning. There is a lot involved. And one of the key parts of the job that I'm finding myself really enjoying too at this point is having an opportunity to collaborate with our coaches. We have an unbelievable coaching staff, a lot of seasoned coaches and some new ones. There are a lot of new initiatives and things that we have that we're looking to implement and that we already have. And I will say the buy-in has been pretty impressive.
That's so great.
For all of our coaches.
Yeah, you were talking about a rubric of some sort?
Yeah.
Rubric I think of from the social studies classroom project or something like that. So what is that?
You would think. Sports rubrics are extremely important as well. we, as coaches, it's important for us to have an opportunity to evaluate our athletes. And, having a rubric also allows for, better conversations with the athlete. It allows for better practice plans. Practices tend to be more efficient because you're focusing on certain skills.
Right.
And the rubrics would be different for each sport. So
Sure.
I know as a coach for 19 years at the high school level, I always had a rubric, and we took that very seriously.
That's great.
And it would be an area that a lot of coaches may not be familiar with. But this summer coming in with our fall coaches, I was able to kind of sit down, have those conversations about what a rubric could look like, and we would tailor it to that sport. And some already had it.
Right.
But it is a good tool to have.
Yeah, because the kids want to know how they're doing, and I would imagine it helps with the expectations also for the families, because sometimes, parents want to know, why isn't my kid playing more? Why aren't you putting my kid over here or over there? Having this kind of template, this rubric, this student athlete not assessment, that's the wrong word, but just, rubric. It's really the best.
It gives you a clear picture.
Yeah.
And that rubric is done collaboratively. So it's not just one coach filling out that rubric. So, our teams are considered, it's a program. So it's not going to be just your junior varsity coach or just your modified coach or just your varsity coach filling out that rubric. They're going to do that collaboratively. And a lot of times we practice as a program, and it's better when you do it that way because you have more input.
Yeah, I think that's great. I would imagine also as an athletic director, you have to have a lot of good people skills because you're dealing with the coaches and the athletes and the parents and the other teams, and there's so many different people you have to, and expectations. I can't even imagine.
I think part of people skills involves communication.
Yeah.
And one of the key areas that I've focused on is how can I improve on the communication, and what are certain tools that we can use as a department to streamline our communication. Yeah. We've implemented, Sports U, which is, it's a platform that's being used, all through the country. And Section 1 has pretty much adapted that as, as their primary form of communication. So I thought it would be important for us, why don't we do it as a district? And all of our coaches now have implemented that.
So is that like Schoology for the teams?
That's it's very, very similar.
Oh, okay, that's great.
And you have a lot of options on there, on how you communicate and what information you're communicating, and you can do it with specific players, or with a group of parents, or with your entire team. And it also allows for our coaches to collaborate with each other through that same platform. Wow. And the best part of it is, we're protecting everyone's privacy. Right. As opposed to,
group emails,
and having people's personal identifiable information on there, or text messaging. We've moved away from that. Now everything is kept secure. Everything is kept private.
That's so great. That's great. And you have a whole new website. Which is awesome. It's like you click on the basketball page and there is a picture of the basketball players, and I love that.
We spent a good amount of time this summer, and Dr. Faggio and some of his team kind of worked with me on this. We had a conversation early July, and I said, I think that we can improve on our website, just as far as being able to navigate through it, and making it a little more spirited. So what we did was we looked at other websites, some colleges, some professional websites, and other high schools, and we kind of took them all, and we tailored it to what we wanted. And yes, it's a little easier to navigate, but it's a work in progress.
No, that's great. That's great. So, aside from like the people skills, there's also the organization. Like, how do we're such a small district with so few fields. How do you manage where everybody's going to be practicing and playing, and like we've got so many teams at one time that have to use all the same fields. How do you do that?
It's not an easy task. And one of the key things that I focus on when I am creating a weekly practice schedule,
right.
is being able to provide equity for our programs, as opposed to saying every team has a set time on every day when the fields are available. I don't think that that's fair. I think it's important to allow everyone equal access to our facilities, that's the part that becomes a little more detailed, and you have to be a little bit more organized, because it's almost like filling in
it's a puzzle. Yeah.
And I can make mistakes, and some of the coaches do pick up on mistakes. But we also, I make it clear when I send that schedule out, work with your colleagues,
right.
Be flexible with each
right.
other, and you're more than welcome
right.
to make adjustments.
So what does that look like? So was it that a certain team would always get a certain field, let's say every day at 3:30, and now you're kind of moving them around?
Correct. And I'm not saying it's wrong to do it that other way.
Yeah.
I just feel like, and that does create consistency, where teams know every day this is where we're going.
Right. It's easy to remember.
But creating a schedule forces them to kind of read the schedule. Forces them to be a little bit more accountable as
right.
coaches.
Right.
But I think they appreciate in the end the fact that they are receiving equal access to our facilities.
That's good.
And then we have to also consider our youth organizations, who've also been great to work with. Our Dad's Club organization, our ASO organization. We've been working closely with them because we want to make sure that our youth programs have access to facilities. The
right.
fact that we don't have a lot of facilities in our community. And they've been great to work with. And so far at this point, I think that people are happy and appreciating what we're doing here.
That's great. That's really great. So with the coaches, like, what's the process? We have most of our coaches are teachers in the district, but we do have some coaches that are not teachers. Is it that the teachers get first dibs on when a coach, let's pretend one of their longstanding coaches says, I'm not going to do it anymore, I'm retired.
So the coaching positions are part of our TAP contract.
Right. Okay.
Oftentimes, we're in a position where we don't have teachers, within our district who want to coach a sport.
Right.
It's a little more challenging than people would think to find coaches who are qualified. If there is a coach who is qualified and is a employee of the district,
right.
They would be somebody that would be looked at above somebody else, although that doesn't necessarily make them more qualified. And in the end, our goal is to hire the most qualified coach.
That's most important.
But we're lucky to have coaches who do come from the outside, but are phenomenal coaches.
Right.
And they may not be educators here,
right,
but a majority of them are educators somewhere else.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. Or like we had that, where they retired. Remember we had that cross-country coach years ago. I forget his name, Bill. I forget his name. But he was retired teacher and coach, and he came into the cross-country. So now you were a coach, but you came to the district as a math teacher. So you've had an interesting journey.
I came to the district as a math teacher, math and special education. I did coach at Pearl River High School, which is actually where I graduated from.
Oh, right.
And I've taken on numerous roles within the district.
A lot of hats.
And I've been thankful for those opportunities. It's allowed me to grow as an educator. I've been able to pursue, and also offered me the opportunity to pursue my dream now, which is the working as the district director of athletics.
Yeah. I would imagine the experience being director in the special ed, just that people skill is so critical, and it's hard to learn how to talk to people and manage their expectations. And we know our athletes and our parents of athletes, it's a stressful universe. A lot of pressures to go on to college, to get those contracts with schools, or I want to play varsity, but maybe you need to have them stay on JV for another year. Or we were talking about the 7th or 8th graders moving up, and that was an interesting thought, that some of the other districts are losing teams, I think you said.
So the one thing about Pleasantville, which makes us unique as a small district, I feel like I've talked about this before, we are lucky enough to be able to maintain a majority of our programs from the middle school through the high school.
Right.
And that's not common in smaller schools, and even some of the larger schools now, in specific sports such as, field hockey, which is, it's a dwindling sport, but it does go in cycles. For a while, baseball was a dwindling sport.
Right.
But here in Pleasantville, we've had the ability to be able to sustain those programs.
That's great.
And that kind of goes with our philosophy of maintaining that inclusive environment. We want to offer interscholastic sports for as many students as we can.
Sure.
And Pleasantville's done a great job doing that. So yes, we've been confronted with the topic of having 7th and 8th graders be pulled up to junior varsity and varsity programs.
Right.
Our district policy is that we have 8th graders that could be eligible. They have to go through a process. It's called the athletic placement process, where they would be tested to see if they were qualified. And I think by limiting it to our 8th graders, that's helped us sustain our programs district-wide.
Right, because it's not just the ability of the athlete, it's the maturity of the athlete, the size of the athlete, and if they're pushed up, then what's left behind? Because you learn from your group. So if we push up too many, then your other players might not have a good.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be able to. This is done on a case-by-case basis. So if the athlete is an elite athlete, we would allow them to, what we would call play up.
Right.
But we have to make sure too, like you had mentioned, it's not only is it physical, but it's mental. Yeah. And socially, we want to provide the best opportunities for these student athletes as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. And it, this whole social, emotional, mental health, the stresses. There was that Pleasantville Strong BTH event several years ago at the Holy Innocents Church, and I remember sitting at the table. I think you may have been at my table. I'm not sure. But one of the stresses for high school students was sports, and I didn't really even think about it. My kids are not big athletes, so I'm not in that universe very closely, so I was surprised. But then as soon as they started talking about it, the folks at the table, I completely understood, because maybe the kid has been playing too long and kind of wants to stop, but it's the peer pressure to stay, or maybe whatever. There's so many different things. So so you were talking about this Positive Coach Alliance.
Yeah. So the idea of students struggling emotionally in athletics, it exists. Yeah. At all levels. And coming from the special ed realm, my past opportunities have really helped me moving into this role, and being able to identify certain things and signs of maybe mental health awareness, or students who may be struggling socially. So what I thought would be a good idea would how do we implement an initiative that supports this? So there is an organization out there, PCA, stands for Positive Coaching Alliance, and their main focus is to work with administrators, work with coaches, and help them be able to identify those key signs that that may show that a student athlete is struggling.
Sure,
with
I would
mental health awareness.
And I would imagine just even helping with the language. If a kid is behaving a certain way, instead of, oh, come on, cut it out, it's not so bad, learning the language to acknowledge and validate, like, yeah, it is. Because for some of these, for us as grown-ups, we know a lot of these things do go away. It's not that big of a deal on the big scope of a long life, but in that moment for that 7th grader or 9th grader or 12th grader, it's huge.
You're absolutely right. The idea behind this is to develop a consistent language among our coaches,
right,
among our athletes. And as a coach, and I know myself, what helped me as a coach was my background coming from the special ed sector. And but not all coaches have that knowledge and that experience.
Of course not.
And what's your first reaction? What do you do when you do recognize that a student athlete is struggling emotionally, or there are issues there? How do you have those conversations, and who do you loop into those conversations, and how do you have the conversation with the parent? And how do we coach our parents into having the conversations with their child? These are all important things to help support those student athletes who might be struggling with mental health awareness.
No, that's great. It's in all categories now, we're realizing, which is really, I love that. So, all right, so let's see. The athletic director, you have to manage all your coachings, you have to schedule all your practices, you've got budgeting.
There's
I mean, for your buses, your equipment,
budgeting is a key component of that role.
And state ed rules are so challenging, right?
Things change. So when we are taking a look at what we are purchasing, our equipment, we do have contracts with New York State. Certain contracts expire, so we have to make sure that we're managing our inventory. And if we're stockpiling too much, what'll happen is, those items may no longer be they get
obsolete.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because like the helmets with the plastic, right? You can only have plastic. I know that from like bike helmets or like strollers. I can remember that from strollers. If you have the stroller because of the plastic. Oh no, not strollers, car seats. The plastic breaks in. So I would imagine some of your helmets have to be.
They've recently changed the requirement for shoulder pads for lacrosse.
Oh my God.
And think of what the cost of a shoulder pad can be.
I can't even imagine.
Think of how many athletes we have participating in lacrosse.
Right. 7th grade through 12th grade.
7th grade through 12th grade.
Right.
So it's important to kind of look at what we have, look at our inventory, and also be able to reallocate our funds towards things that we may need and things that come up.
Sure.
Like maybe lacrosse shoulder pads, or field hockey masks, or football helmets.
Right.
We have to be prepared to be able to purchase those things when we need, but also improve on what we have.
Sure.
So
you have to be a people person, you have to be a financial wizard, you have to be a logistics coordinator extraordinaire. It's a lot.
I mean, I don't know if you necessarily need to be all of that, but I will tell you that having experience in those areas is beneficial to this role.
Right. So what else? We could kind of continue on another 15 different tangents, but I see that we've been talking for quite a while. Is there anything that we haven't gotten to? I think. Well,
I think too, it would be nice for our community to know also that as a department we are looking for consistency. We want to develop that community spirit. So one of the new things that we're implementing is going to be an online store that we're working towards.
Great.
And all of the funds will go directly into the student activities account for athletics. So it'll be spread out among all of our sports.
That is great. So all the bling.
Exactly. So community members will have the opportunity to, purchase a cool hat. I was
great.
wearing a hat the other day.
Oh,
and
that's
a parent said to me,
great.
wow, that's an awesome hat. Where do I get one of those? I said, pretty soon it'll be online.
I love that because up until now it's been, boosters with individual classes or teams. So to have that on the one website, I love that idea.
It is. It's going back to that consistency and developing that consistency across the department.
Great.
So when you're walking, through the community or you're walking in the mall,
Right.
People recognize, hey, that P is from Pleasantville.
Right.
That's a Pleasantville athlete.
That's great.
I think it's important because students appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Faculty members appreciate it.
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, the sweatshirt, we give the kids buy the sweatshirts at the plays, but every place you go, there's the color in the sweatshirt so that when the kid might be in Timbuktu, then all of a sudden, oh, hey, we went to the same camp, or oh, I went to that high school.
Right.
So that branding, and that's really important. I love that.
And I think the student body takes pride in that.
Sure.
The community takes pride in it, and they appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, and it's fun. And
Yeah.
for me, that stuff is fun. That's part of the job that I love.
Oh, that's great.
Just kind of doing nice things for our
That's
athletes.
great. Well, there's another logistics inventory thing for you to keep track of is the retail store.
So,
Purchasing and selling, that's great. But that I would imagine the athletes and stuff can help with that as well. That's part of and after the extracurricular club,
and it will be. It's going to be an opportunity for our team leaders and other athletes to use this maybe as an internship opportunity.
Yes.
And it allows for them to take ownership.
Sure.
When teams come in, and that's one of the things that I've been doing a lot of is having meetings with our team leaders,
Right.
allowing them to take ownership in certain things, whether it be
great.
the apparel for their
great.
team,
Yeah.
and it gives them a chance to collaborate.
Sure.
And it's a positive way of creating relationships within that
great.
program.
That's great. All right. Well, here we are, middle of September. We've got homecoming weekend this weekend, so lots of fun, great activities and more sporting events to come, and we're going to have winter sports. We didn't really have winter sports last year, I don't think. Did we
There were winter sports. We did not have wrestling.
Right, so we're going to have wrestling this year?
So wrestling, as of now,
Oh,
the
that's
plan
great.
is there should be no changes
Great.
in the upcoming seasons.
Great.
And we're already in the process of finalizing our winter schedules,
Right.
and starting our spring scheduling.
Right, and everyone can find all the information on the website, on the athletics website, on either school. There's the tab for athletics, and all the information is there with the calendar of all the schools, of all the games and everything.
Exactly.
Which is great, and all the different coaches. So that's great. All right. Well, Dan, thank you for joining me here today. And to everybody out there in Pleasantville land, again, I want to thank you for committing to keeping our doors open and our students in the classrooms, in the hallways, on the sports fields, and in their extracurricular. So thank you for following all the rules, and we are going to get through all of this together. And please look for our next edition on Inside Pleasantville Schools. Thank you so much, and have a great day.